Well, folks, we have made it back from the secret fun spot, and this is my regular campsite. I'm able to park fairly close to this one, and so we brought in a few little luxuries that we normally would not have. But I wanted to do a real quick walkthrough of our camp, let you see some of the stuff, and I'm going to have John show you what he's got going on with his setup, and then I'll show you mine, and then we're probably going to go ahead and get the fire ready to light and get on with our evening. And I'll probably bring you back on my regular camera then. Hopefully the lighting that I have chosen for this evening will be helpful. And let's see, we're looking at about 6:05. It's going to get dark probably around 7ish or so, and we'll just see what happens. We'll just see what happens. Anyway, this is our camp. There's John's shelter and his hammocks inside. There's John. This is our tripod of our bushcraft patrol rigs we used today when we were out exploring a secret fun spot. This is my setup, and there's the pack I wore today. There's some firewood, and this multicam thing on top. This is actually a tripod chair that I made, and we use that as a sled also because it's really heavy duty nylon, as a sled to drag in firewood. We can get quite a bit loaded on there and crisscross that cordage on there and drag it in, and it just makes it a whole lot easier. There's my regular camp chair that I always have in my pack, and I've been experiencing a lot of issues with my knee and my hip, and that isn't working out real well to get in and out of. It's pretty low, so I went ahead and opted to bring a couple camp chairs in since we're not too far from the vehicles, and so we have like your standard generic camp chair that we're going to be using for comfort. But,
pretty nice.
Yeah, there's that. There's where our fire was last night and will be tonight. A little bit of firewood there, and here's John's setup. He's got a Granite Gear Chief Patrol pack here, and there's his water bottles and his freeze-dried meal koozie I'm mating. You want to go ahead and give us a tour of your setup there, John?
Oh, sure. So this is the DD tarp. They call it multicam. It's obviously not multicam, but it's actually fairly effective around here. And I can't take credit for this particular configuration. This is something that John came up with, and it has really served us well in colder temperatures. In fact, we were on a pretty extreme hike in Dolly Sods, and everybody got wet and it got cold. And John set his up. I didn't have this tarp at the time, and he put a little stove inside his, and we use that to get guys warmed up and out of their wet stuff and get some hot coffee in them, and it really made a huge difference. But if you look inside,
You can go walk inside.
Oh, okay.
I can follow you.
there's tons of room in here. I've got my war bonnet hammock stripped down to its basics, and I've got a hammock gear underquilt and hammock gear top quilt in here. My camp chair I carry with me, and sitting inside my camp chair is my portable nose hose because I'm old and I need it to survive. This is pretty much it. It's a pretty simple setup. I think John and I have this down to a system. With the space blanket on the floor, we can get this thing up and running in like 5 minutes. And it's because we've made our own preset ridge lines and other things that just make this faster. And guys, it's just stuff that comes with experience. You get out in the woods, you do the stuff, you find what works for you. This is by no means a setup for you, but this is what I like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of room in this by using some of the webbing loops to guy line out the sides. It's not a tremendous amount of head space in here, or head clearance. However, you have tons of room to move around, and once you're in your hammock, it doesn't really matter anyway.
Well, and the great thing is, if you want to, if the weather's more mild like it is today, it was very cold last night, you can take this side of it and lift it up, cut some poles, and then stake it out, and you've got like an awning and your hammock's open air. But when the weather is foul, I have found this is just an amazing shelter. It generally gets you out of the wind and the rain, and you're dry and you're cozy in there. With the space blanket on the floor, you could sit down in there, you could light your little stove in there to heat stuff up. That heat and your body heat has this warm. I put my water in there last night, sitting in my chair, and just my body heat working in there kept those water bottles from freezing, and it was like 20 degrees last night.
Super, John, thanks.
Oh, great. Well,
now, if you notice, John's tarp, the way it's configured, looks a little different than mine. John has not used his tarp very much, and as I have been doing this quite frequently for a while now, I have noticed that most of the tarps that I use, the fabric stretches significantly. The seam, which would be this little section here, almost always stays very nice and taut, and you know, it doesn't stretch. However, the fabric that makes up the tarp does. When you're looking at mine over here, it has been used a lot more than John has used his, and it's very difficult to make it taut. And you know, I don't have a problem when heavy winds, though. When your tarp's not tight and it's not taut, it flaps around, you know, quite significantly. And so I've actually taken to wearing earplugs. This right here is my setup. Again, the tarp configuration is the same, and got my big camera in here, but it's a significant amount of space. And there's a ILBE. I'm working on some filming with that. And what I do with mine here is, this is the Snug Pack setup that I did a video on here recently. And you know, after I set it up, it's been a while since I used it. I was like, I gotta use this. And especially considering it was 20 degrees last night, I was as snug as a bug in a rug. And I don't know if that's an actual thing or just a catchphrase, but that's okay. I think you understand where I'm coming from. And it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But as you can see, even with saggy tarp, you still have a significant amount of room in here. And as always, I have my heavy-duty space blanket for my flooring, and it works absolutely fantastic. And over here I have my multicam smock, but this is my quilted liner for the parka, and I have that on top of the toe of my hammock setup just to add a little bit of insulation when I go to sleep. It's not supposed to be nearly as cold this evening, so I may not even need that this evening. And that's absolutely fantastic. Had a beautiful day as far as the weather goes today, and just really looking forward to relaxing this evening. I was going to film last night, and John and I don't see each other very frequently, and let alone being able to, you know, have time to go camping and stuff like that. So last night was ours, and we had a great time. You know, we might repeat some of the things we did last night. We bought a whole bunch of different types of canned seafood, and I used my boiling technique of boiling the cans in a vessel and trying all of them. And it was absolutely amazing how every single type of seafood that we tried was significantly different than when you eat them at room temperature. And not only were the appearances different, the textures were different, but the flavors were different, and all of them were much more positive of a result than just eating them straight out of the can. The texture is much lighter and much more delicate. The flavor is less harsh. and things reconstitute. Like smoked oysters. We had smoked oysters last night, and they actually plumped up, and it was like almost like you had taken fresh oysters and cooked them. And it was something else. We were very surprised. One of the things that we had was herring in a hot tomato sauce. And by the time we had, heated it up, I think we boiled each one of them for about 5-10 minutes. And we opened it up. The sauce that was in it, combined with the herring, if you were to have a tremendous amount of that sauce with the herring that was in there and broken it up, it would have been a phenomenal seafood soup. It was something else. Anyway, we'll probably break some more of those out because I've got a few other things we didn't try. I got some mussels that we hadn't tried yet. So we'll probably do that this evening too. And we're just going to play it loose this evening, and whatever I get to film, I film. And hopefully, my lighting situation will work out so you will have the ability to see us around a campfire, which I often, when it's just me, I don't usually have a campfire. I'm more than comfortable how I am without a fire, but when you're with friends, I mean, it definitely adds to the ambiance and the whole tribal concept of gathering around the fire, telling stories, and just, you're there until you go to bed. And it's been that way for, eons. So I'm going to go ahead and get the fire ready and get a few other things ready to go, and I'll bring you back. Well, we're back, folks, and I'm certain some of you can relate to this, that you have a best friend, and it doesn't matter when you get together, you talk and you talk and you talk and you talk, and conversation never gets old. Well, that's pretty much what happened when we got back from my secret fun spot. And John and I, we just got, the fire going, and we started talking and just having a great time, reminiscing about this, that, and the other thing. And before we know it, boom, here we are. It's probably close to 9 o'clock, and it's dark. And so some of the things I wanted to do this evening, it's not going to happen, but that's okay. I came up with a better plan. I think it's going to be a pretty cool plan, and I hope you appreciate it. Just a second. I've got to take care of a couple things, and I'll be right back, and we'll do it. Okay, the thing that I came up with, which I thought is going to be pretty cool, hopefully you'll enjoy it too, is I'm going to do a little Q&A back and forth with John and about bushcrafting and wild camping stuff. And I thought that would be sort of interesting for all of you to be able to see what two different people, because you see me probably way too much, and God bless you, someone's got to do it, right? But you've seen a lot of my opinions on things. You've seen the way I feel about a lot of things. But to have somebody else that has had different experiences and things like that with different types of equipment, gear, and experiences to be able to share their input. And the first question I'm going to ask John is, what is your favorite wild camping cook set? And explain why.
Oh, well, you know how we are with stoves. It's kind of a fetish.
Yeah.
But
some people say an addiction.
I would have to say, you have to categorize that a little bit.
Okay, then by all means.
I really like that Esbit alcohol burner cook set we have.
Yes.
I love that set. Mm-hmm. But I also like that titanium rig I put together with the BRS stove and the gas can and the titanium cups from Snow Peak, because it's lightweight. So I guess for various reasons I like different stoves. And then I think about the cold weather. I like my Whisper Light. How long have I had my Whisper Light?
Oh, I would say in excess of 20 years.
For sure, easily. And in the cold weather, that whisper light with the white gas is fantastic. So I guess that's kind of a longer answer to a simple question, but that's kind of where I'm at. Those would be my 3 favorites.
Now, could you expand a little bit for people that, you know, because I've seen the titanium rig you're talking about. Could you expand a little bit in greater detail as far as the titanium setup that you had just mentioned?
Okay, so what I did is I took a Snow Peak titanium cup. I believe it's a 750 milliliter with a lid. And what I like about it is I can get a standard isobutane can down in it. And then I have that little titanium BRS stove. I put a set of hot lips in there that they make so you don't weld your lips to the cup. And I also have, and this is just a personal thing, a little hand macrame heating pad that my daughter made for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that is a really cool, really light stove system that I can take. I tend to grab it when I'm going to be doing a hike that might be extended miles. I'm a firm believer in using equipment you've used for the specific purposes you intend to use them for.
Excellent, excellent. So through your answer, we actually got 3 possibilities determining on the situation. That's fantastic, John. Thank you. So ask me.
I would ask, because you have a bunch of them, what is your overall favorite pack?
What are you talking about? I have a lot of packs. I can't believe you even suggested such a thing.
You have a lot of packs. I have a lot of packs, and you have more packs than I have.
But I want more.
No. No.
Okay. My favorite. Oh, this is a rough one because the thing is, different situations dictate different packs.
See how we trip each other up?
Yes, we do. But we do it well.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing. Wow. If I were to have to take one pack and one pack only for any wild camping situation, I have a lot of Mystery Ranch packs, you know that, right?
Correct.
And you know they're really awesome.
Yes. In fact, I would say you have too many Mystery Ranch packs, but that's me.
Yeah, and
I know which one you're going to go to. I already know. I mean, I don't even know why I bothered to ask the question. Well, other than the viewers don't know.
I think I might surprise you on this one, John. I really think I might surprise you. Right now, today, if I were to have to grab and go one pack, I honestly feel I will probably go with my ILBE.
What?
I am dead serious.
Well,
If that's the only one pack I can have, because the thing is, now I love my wolf pack. My wolf pack is really, really dynamic. I can change it and things like that. However, it is a good bit heavier than the ILBE. And the ILBE, with all the compression capabilities, the expandability of it, and everything else, I could take anything from 10 pounds to 75 pounds. It's ridiculously comfortable, incredibly durable, and beautifully engineered. Has all the human factors, the ergonomics and things like that. I think it's a masterful pack.
all right, folks. For those of you that don't speak militarise, which we do speak, the Mystery Ranch Wolf Pack is a pack that's very convertible. It holds a ton of gear. There is a pack on top of the pack, essentially. I don't know how else to describe it. That when you get where you're going, you can remove that top portion of that pack, yet your pack still seals. There's a lid underneath. You can put that at your base camp, and you can put on this little exploration or day pack or trekking pack, it's a great piece of gear. I don't believe Mystery Ranch makes that particular model anymore.
No, they do not. They discontinued it because it was too awesome.
Correct. Then the ILBE is a pack that the Marine Corps adopted for a time, that my son turned me on to, who, by the way, was also a Marine, that I believe it was Arc'teryx that designed it for them.
Yes, it was.
And then, of course, they contracted it out to other companies. But the ILBE does sort of the same thing. The lid itself can store a bunch of gear. And then there is a section on the back of the pack where you have a patrol pack, which we would consider a day pack in civilian terms, can go on to the back of that. The sleep compartment is separate underneath. It's a great piece of gear. The reason the Marine Corps went away from it is because when they developed the new body armor, that pack no longer worked. As my son described it, he said it would roll back and forth in their body armor. He was heartbroken when they got rid of him. But he was smart enough to contact John and I and said, hey, you guys need to snag these. They're selling for cheap right now, and it's true Marine Corps gear. And when we got ours, the Marine Corps emblem is inside the pack. It's a great piece of kit. If you can still find them, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But I do kind of see why you went this way with that answer. Good answer. Surprised me a little bit, but not entirely.
But number 2 would definitely be my wolf pack.
Yeah.
And look forward to a video review on the ILBE. And these questions are not seated. I don't know what he's going to ask. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask.
Yeah, this is off the cuff, folks.
Okay. What is your favorite bushcrafting slash, and I do mean slash, wild camping knife?
Oh. How come these all turn into multiply faceted answers?
Because in wild camping and bushcrafting, there is no easy answers.
Correct. Okay, so as far as in my pocket that I use for food processing, light camp use, and the other is the Opinel folder that locks out.
It's very nice.
Yeah, which I got you one.
Yes, you did.
But they're unbelievably sharp. They're light. They're unbelievably handy. It's a French knife.
Chocolat bleu.
They're awesome. Now, as far as my bushcraft knife I like to carry the most, it would be my Benchmade Bushcrafter, which another super good friend, Bob, got for me. And it's fantastic. And before anybody hems and haws about it, when you look this up, I was on Bushcraft USA forum, and they were talking about knives, and somebody put up that Benchmade Bushcrafter. It's stainless, okay? And somebody started to poo-poo it, and then a guy on there who was a major knife guy, I won't name him, was like, yeah, actually, this is a pretty good knife, which was high praise coming from him. It's never failed me. It even though it's stainless, it holds an edge. It's got great steel. The sheath is excellent. I've got a ferro rod on it, and I love that knife. It's kind of my go-to bushcraft knife.
Excellent, excellent. Your turn.
Okay, I would say for the purposes of in camp, when we're getting ready to relax, set up where we're going to stay for the night, what's generally your favorite rig for that?
For sleep system?
Correct.
A tarp and a hammock. And it would depend on the time of year as far as the type of insulation I would use. Absolutely, without a doubt, a hammock is my favorite way to sleep.
I 100% agree. You know, when you're 50 some years young like us, though the outdoors is awesome, comfort is king at night.
Absolutely.
And what I found the first time I became a tree dweller, sleeping in a hammock, you don't get those sore spots from being on the ground. You don't get the hip sore. You don't get the back sore. You don't get the shoulder sore. It just feels like you're floating. And I absolutely love my hammock rig as well.
Yeah.
I kind of thought you would answer that, but people need to know. When John and I started doing this, we were doing this with our military gear.
Yes. Surplus 1980s Max.
Right.
So a lot of it was developed in the 70s.
Right.
Gear, like our Alice packs, our Alice systems and things like that. They were all developed in the 1970s and were actually being carried by our troops in the Vietnam War. And it was old tech. They spruced it up. They changed a little bit. Sometimes the canvas items were transferred over to Cadora nylon, but it was still old tech. It was just made with newer materials, and it was heavy, not particularly ergonomic, but much more so than many other countries that were our contemporaries at the time. And when we were young, I mean, it didn't bother us at all. When you compare it to today's standards, absolutely. They were heavy. They were not ergonomic compared to what is produced today. But it served our purposes beautifully. And we were, like I said, we were young. We were more than durable. And so the idea of literally sleeping on the ground with a poncho liner, it was not a problem. We would use our poncho liners. Sometimes we'd take out shelter halves from the U.S. issue so-called pup tent, and we would combine our ponchos with those sections, and we could develop quite a substantial shelter, aka hooch, and we would be able to have a very nice dry shelter and be able to enjoy an evening with no problem whatsoever. And yeah, those I guess those were the days, weren't they, John?
Yeah. Well, and you know, I'd like to qualify that by saying, for your viewers, if this is what you can afford, use what you can afford. Just get out there.
Absolutely.
The kits we have today have evolved over our entire relationship, and they've evolved based upon where we're at with our jobs and our disposable income and the type of stuff we do anymore, and not the least of which, our age. I mean, I'm 50.
And physical condition.
That's correct. I'm 53. I'm
a lot older.
and John's a lot older. Yeah. But I am certainly not in the shape that I was in when I was in the Marine Corps. So you have to consider that when you're purchasing your stuff. And the other thing I would recommend is don't get keyed into one discipline. Bushcraft is bushcraft, but what we've done, we've taken things from backpacking, things from ultralight, things from bushcraft, and and things from the military, and we've combined it into a system that works for us. And it might not be the system somebody else wants. When you get to this stage and you're combining stuff, you have to put together what works for you. If you like to ground camp and tent camp, there's stuff out there to accommodate you. If you want to get your hang on with a hammock, there's stuff out there to accommodate you. What I would say is this, and I would caution this: do not take something out on an extended hike that you have not tested in your own backyard.
Absolutely. And
by backyard, I mean either your local woods or your actual backyard.
John, let me interject something right now. It was like COVID-19, whatever you feel about it, if you have been watching YouTube with wild campers, bushcrafters, and things like that, especially in the UK, you had a lot of garden bushcrafters. You had a lot of garden wild campers. And you know what? That is fantastic, because the thing is, where you want to try new gear is at home, to where you are not dependent upon it for your survival or your comfort. And when I first started getting into reenacting, which I must have to say is like when we were talking about the merging of disciplines,
Right.
we are both well versed in historical reenacting and experimental archaeology. And those things we have also brought into our wild camping bushcrafting bag of tricks. The idea of a backyard bushcrafter is brilliant. You can work out any bugs you have in your kit, any bugs you have in any piece of equipment, and determine what that is, repair it, or replace it before you actually take that out into the wilderness. And, you know, it depends on where you live and where you want to camp and things like that as to what wilderness is. Now, here in southeastern Ohio, you know, I can be close to town but still be in the woods, or I can literally be, 15, 20 miles away from the nearest town and be in the middle of absolute wilderness.
Oh, you mean like today at the super secret fun spot? We're in the middle of freaking nowhere.
Yeah, like that. Exactly like that.
Yep.
Because you never want to be in a position to where you are dependent upon something that you've never tested, and it ruins your experience. I'll interject with a quick story, and then we can move on. I'll let John finish up with his. When I was involved in reenacting, our reenactor commander, Ron Francis, relayed a story to me. He went to an event in the middle of the winter, and an individual showed up, his first event. He had spent over $2,700 on his kit, his rifle, everything. And it was the middle of the winter. He had never done anything like this. And he was on guard duty because it was a reenactment, military reenactment. And he says, I can't do this. I can't do this. And he just left. He just left. He went back to his car and he drove home. He left all of his stuff there. And, you know, Ron said he had no idea if he ever came back to get it or not, or what happened to the stuff, but he never came back the entire weekend. And, you know, there can be a sense of panic that can fill someone that's a novice when they go to the wilderness, I call it the woods, here. When something fails to the point to where, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be asleep tonight. Oh my gosh, I won't be able to heat food. Oh my gosh, I can't eat. Oh my gosh, I can't drink. And all these other things. And from that one experience, the one experience that could have been very easily rectified by trying it out at home, that could have ruined it for him. And that's, I see that a lot on YouTube, to where people take things out to the woods and use them for the first time on an overnighter. And, you know, I've used new stuff in the woods before. However, it's nothing that has to do with my shelter, my water, or my food. Any of the things that I absolutely positively have to have. If I have a new saw, something like that, it's a completely different thing.
Correct.
Yeah, and with that, when you are trying out a new shelter, a new sleep system, a new cook system, anything that is essential to your comfort, enjoyment, or survival in the wilderness, you need to test it out at home. And you need to test it out, not just like pulling out a package, putting it together, try it out once. No, you need to use it. Use it. Cook something with the cook system. When you put up your shelter, sleep in it overnight. I don't care if the neighbors, you know, when I ridiculed,
Right.
they thought I was insane when I first got into reenacting. All the stuff I did in my backyard, my neighbors looking out of their kitchen window was like, what in the world's he doing now? And, you know, it's okay. It's okay. People are allowed to think you're weird, even if you are 100% completely normal, like John and I.
Yeah, we're normal, all right.
Okay, I'm shutting up. Turn it back over to John to finish up his answer.
Yeah, I'd say I've looked at a lot of the individual disciplines that people that like to be out in the outdoors have, and it runs the gamut from the dyed-in-the-wool bushcrafters to these ultralighters and everything in between. And in my mind, the military taught me to be very adaptable, and that's helped me throughout my life. And in my mind, if you focus specifically on just the one discipline, you're missing out a little bit.
Yes.
I'm not panning that. I have a lot of respect for these guys that do what they do. But I think if you really want to get the maximum enjoyment out of your dirt time, looking at all these things and melding them into a system that works for you is ideal. Look, I have an ultralight rig that I take when I'm doing some major mileage hikes. I have a bushcrafting rig I take when I want to go bushcrafting. I have a camping rig I take when I want to go camping. I have a rig that I take in my Jeep when I want to go Jeep camping. So one discipline isn't necessarily better than the others, and some of these folks that are way into one discipline have a tendency to look down their nose at the others. And I will tell you this, that's a mistake. That's a mistake.
If you are in the wilderness, if you are wild camping, if you're doing anything outside and you are enjoying yourself and you're comfortable and you're happy, that is where you need to be.
Right.
Period. What I do compared to what you do, it doesn't matter at all. If I can share something with you that helps you enjoy your experience in the outdoors, then that's awesome. But if it doesn't, that's not important. What is important is the fact that you have other resources to where you can find information to enjoy the outdoors. We all spend way too much time under fluorescent bulbs in front of computer screens and doing things in environments that are completely unhealthy for us. Any opportunity you can have to be outdoors and enjoy it, you are going to be healthier both physically and psychologically.
I'm not vain enough to tell you that my system is the best, nor is John. The things we show you because we want to spark your imagination. We want to give you ideas. We want to show you things that have worked for us after years and years and years of trial and error. And we are not saying they're the best. And you know what? You could be the newest woodsman we've seen on this channel, and you could show us something.
Absolutely. And I've made this comment a couple of videos, is how much I enjoy the comments of my videos. Because I know what I know, I do what I do, but that's not finite. I'm a professional educator and have been for over 30 years. And every single year, I learn from my students something. Mm-hmm. And there's not a comment that's been made so far that has not either solidified my ideas on something through their own experience, so it confirms it, or has not offered other ideas for me to explore. The possibilities of this hobby literally are endless, and to be able to pluck from here and here and here, and to throw that into your bushcrafting, wild camping bag of tricks, so you can come out and you can try it on your own. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, the media of this platform, I should say, which is questionable at this time whether or not it's a professional endeavor or a platform. But we aren't going to go there right now. As a platform, this is an amazing tool to learn, and we can pick and choose. We can click to watch, and right off the bat, within the first 4 to 5 minutes, if you're going to be able to get anything out of what you're doing. But when you do find those channels and those videos that do resonate with you, that you connect with the presenter, and you learn from that, that's an absolutely phenomenal gift. And had I had options like this, 30 years ago,
Yeah.
40 years ago, the amount of things that I could have learned so early on, because those things just didn't exist. The books that were available back then, they were scant and very few and far between at best. Magazine articles occasionally on certain things, but within the past 10 years has been the zenith of the bushcrafting, wild camping experience. And we are incredibly blessed with so many options. And it's absolutely fantastic that we have those, that we can experiment and try them, and to see for ourselves what works best for us. Shutting up.
Viewers out there, just get out there and do stuff. It's my opinion that everybody has something to offer. And in this environment, and you go to a bushcraft gathering or this and that, it becomes evident. And whether you're just putting together your first pieces of your kit, or you're watching this channel and you have years of woods time under your belt, just get out there and do it, and share it. Mm-hmm. Share your knowledge, share your ability, ask your questions. That's what this is all about, in my mind.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. A lot of times, I'm confident in what I know, but I'm also honest in relaying what I don't. Unfortunately, you have a lot of experts that are on YouTube that profess this, that, and the other thing, and they may or may not be valid communicators. They may not be individuals that have field-tested things. They may have agenda. Well, apparently the camera shut off. We talked for about another 15 minutes, so I have no idea where I left off. Anyway, we're just going to go ahead and call that one done. Extended answer completed. And I'm going to go ahead and ask John one more question. He's going to ask me one more question. And then maybe we might share with you some of our cuisine that we've been trying. We tried it last night. It was a lot of fun. Different types of seafoods in cans, boiling them and experiencing just how different they are. So with that, John, what is your favorite type of food to take with you when you're wild camping?
Wow. Based upon the numerous different foods we've tried over the years, I would have to say number one, and it's a consistency thing.
Yes.
Are the Mountain House freeze-dried meals.
Mm-hmm.
They just taste good. They do the job. They give you the calories you need to do what you do. I really like them. And I remember the first time we went up to one of our base camps, and I heated up a Mountain House beef stew for the first time, and getting that epiphany and that just huge deja vu that it was, oh my gosh, this is the extreme cold weather rations we ate in the Marine Corps. Yeah. And so then getting home from there, I looked at it and discovered that Mountain House started out their business by making LRP rations for the
Yes.
Army during the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blew my mind. And then if I'm doing, and again, like all things bushcraft, it's kind of a two-parter. If I'm doing something where I want to do something quick and fast, you know, I'll take an MRE. Hey, sue me. You know, I was a jarhead. It is what it is. They're quick, they're easy, and they give you a ton of calories. You know, is it ode to cuisine? Look, folks, no. They're military rations. They're fuel to get the job done. And in certain circumstances when we're out here and we don't want to carry stoves or have fires, they work phenomenally. So again, an extended answer to what would seem a fairly simple question.
There are no simple answers.
There's no simple answers, people.
Never.
Okay.
All right. So what I would ask you, and this might be a little more off-gear topic, but a little bit more butts in the bush topic.
Mm-hmm.
What would be probably one of your favorite outings we've done?
Wow.
Aha. Yeah,
Wow.
you didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, not at all. Oh, wow. That would be incredibly difficult. Or it is incredibly difficult.
Just one of them.
Okay, one of our favorite outings would probably be, and we talked about it earlier, we did a group wild camp, and one of our friends was able to harvest a beaver while trapping, and they had skinned it, stretched the hide and everything else, and they had a 40-pound beaver. And we took the beaver and we made a huge beaver stew with the with the inclusion of a lot of other side dishes, and all of it we actually seared all of the beaver meat on a rock.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
enter Bob and Jamie to get that done.
Yeah,
Between the two of them, it was fantastic.
Yes. Bob Mulheisen, Jamie Booth. Jamie Booth was the individual that brought the beaver. And there's not a whole lot of people that can say that they've actually tasted beaver meat. And believe me, once we were finished with the stew, it was absolutely amazing. And I know you've probably seen a lot of Kent Survival, Andy, doing a lot of rock cooking. Well, we did this many, many years ago, and we seared all of the meat to where they had a nice glaze from the natural sugars that come from the meat. And then we stewed it the entire day. I made fry bread. We did a lot of other side dishes, things like that. We probably had, 5 or 6 other people with us,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
That same weekend, Jamie built this wonderful debris shelter, and it was just an amazing time. But that particular time, and that was a group thing that just really stands out. Everything about that weekend clicked. It was awesome. We did some
Really good
amazing
time.
things. The journey to get water and how we procured it. We took dry bags, and we trekked quite a long ways downhill to a spring-fed stream to get the water, to drag it up an incredibly steep hill, an incredible distance, to be able to have water and everything else. But that weekend was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many weekends with just you and I. Well, I'll throw it in. It wasn't a bushcrafting or a wild camping trip. It's the first time that we went down to Kentucky and we spelunked.
Yeah, that was
And that was
great.
probably one of my favorite times, because we did ridiculously dangerous things, and we came out of it alive.
Yeah.
And that was another one, and we actually talked about that earlier as well. And
Yeah, what was I, 19 maybe?
Maybe, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
But as far as the best time that we shared together, that was one of the best, with the wild camping with the beaver stew, which was absolutely amazing. And then I believe when we went down there, that was the first time I took you back down to my stomping grounds around Fort Knox.
Oh yeah,
When we
yeah.
that was the first time. So that would be my twofold answer to your question.
Nice. Good one. Good one.